What if I told you that Ferrari's true enemy is not Red Bull or McLaren, but the SF-25 that they themselves built? What would happen if I show you that the car cannot compete not due to lack of speed, but because is it broken from the inside? When Ferrari presented the SF-25 for the 2025 season, the expectation was clear and resounding: lead. It was the year that everything had to align. After demonstrating a remarkable recovery in 2024, with a runner-up that had not been seen for more than a decade, Maranello's team built a powerful story around his new weapon. With a technical development promoted by hard lessons learned, a significant investment in correlation simulations, and a design that was promoted as the most ambitious of its hybrid era, the SF-25 was not just a car. It was a declaration of intentions. A symbol that Ferrari was back, at least on paper. Alignment was also dreamy. Charles Leclerc, consolidated as the natural leader of the Scuderia, received as a partner no less than Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion. Hamilton's arrival was seen as the great coup of authority, a bold decision to inject winning experience to the team. The British did not simply pilot, it came to transform. To carry an obsessive work culture, attention to surgical detail, and a media pressure that Ferrari did not live since Schumacher's time. There was talk of a new DNA in Maranello, a marriage between Italian inheritance and the Anglo-Saxon strategic coldness. The preseason fed even more illusion. The SF-25 was consistent, solid in long simulations, and although it was not the fastest in pure return, it did show a promising balance. The engineers talked about an easy-to-understand and put-ready car, a direct improvement with respect to the ups and downs that characterized SF-24. But it was a mirage. As soon as the season began, the reality was ruthless. From the first training in Australia, it was perceived that the car had unpredictable reactions. The car demanded constant adjustments, and any change in temperature or fuel level altered its behavior excessively. Unlike expected, the car did not respond linearly to the changes, which sounded the first technical alarms. Hamilton, even with all his experience, was quickly limited. Leclerc, who knows every millimeter of the recent Ferrari, began to issue public concern signs. What was promised as a precision tool proved to be an unjustified instrument. More than a bad car, the SF-25 was incoherent, inconsistent, and, the most alarming, unstable at the structural level. The problems were not superficial, they were in the foundations. Thus began the discovery of one of Ferrari's greatest technical disappointments in years, and with it, the beginning of a season that, far from being legendary, threatened to write in red ink, but for the wrong reasons. The second phase of this crisis began when Ferrari's technical team stopped seeing the problem of SF-25 as a matter of setup or erratic behavior. They realized that what they faced was not a difficulty of adjustments, but a structural impossibility to optimize the car. What seemed like a case of lack of rhythm became a technical drama of alarming proportions. The rear suspension, one of the most delicate elements of the design of a car, simply did not fulfill its function. The pull rod system adopted by 2025 hence of philosophies inspired by Red Bull ended up being incompatible with the stiffness of the chassis, creating an impossible environment to stabilize for engineers. The most worrying was the total collapse of the correlation between the simulator and the track. In Maranello's facilities, the SF-25 looked like a jewel, balanced, fast, docile. But upon reaching the circuits, the car behaved like a completely different machine. The difference between theory and practice was not less. It was abysmal. The data collected in the Royal Laps did not coincide at all with the simulations. And when that lag occurs in Formula One, an extremely dangerous technical territory is entered. It is the perfect storm for a team that depends on constant development to stay competitive for a season. The most visible consequence was the inability to find a stable operating window. To each change in the fuel load, in the state of the asphalt, or at the level of tire degradation, the car reacted unpredictably. This forced to work with broad security margins, dramatically reducing the competitive potential. During the races, the engineers had to completely compromise the rhythm in order to ensure the minimal stability of the car, sacrificing speed in all key phases: classification, career, tire management, and defense. The SF-25 also exhibited a devastating phenomenon. It was not able to maintain a constant height with respect to the ground. This directly affected the plane background performance, key piece of the generation of aerodynamic load in modern cars. The anomalous wear of the lower plate, as happened in Hamilton disqualification in Shanghai, was just a symptom more than a chronic defect. Under normal conditions, a millimeter variation in the pilot height can alter tenths of a second by lap. In the case of SF-25, these variations were chaotic and cyclical, impossible to foresee. From the technical department, the only real solution would be spoken without completely redesign the rear suspension system. But in a season as compressed as that of 2025, this represents a Herculean challenge. It is not just about manufacturing new pieces. It implies redesign elements that directly affect the structure of the chassis, revalidate simulations, adapt fluid dynamics, reconfigure motor maps, and redefine mechanical setups. To achieve this, the development of the current car should be completely suspended and focus on AB version, something that very few teams dare to do without paying the price of a sacrificed whole season. In other words, Ferrari is caught in a dead end. If they continue with the current SF-25, they are sentenced to remain behind McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull. But if they try to rebuild the car from scratch during the season, they will assume the risk of compromising resources and even compromising the development of the 2026 car. It is a technical, strategic, and political dilemma that no team wants to face. And the most disturbing thing is that no one in Maranello seems to still have a clear answer. The consequences of the technical collapse of the SF-25 are not limited only to the sports plane, but extend as an expansive wave within the organizational, media, and political structure of Ferrari. The most emblematic team of Formula One not only fights a defective car, but against the institutional pressure generated by failure when expectations have been projected worldwide. Ferrari is not just a racing team, it is a national institution, a cultural symbol, and when it disappoints, the impact transcends the limits of the paddock. And that pressure in 2025 is at its maximum point. From the sports point of view, the pilots are the first affected. Charles Leclerc, who has been carrying the hopes of Ferrari's rebirth for years, has begun to show signs of tiredness. His statements after the Miami Grand Prix were a clear sign that he has lost the faith in which the current car can evolve significantly. Moreover, his comments were not leaked or nuanced. He said that he has already drawn the entire potential of the car, and that if radical decisions are not made, there is nothing more to expect from this chassis. This type of public communication is extremely unusual for a Ferrari pilot, which underlines the seriousness of the situation. On the other side of the garage, Lewis Hamilton faces an unexpected reality. After his departure from Mercedes, many thought he arrived to Ferrari to write a final golden chapter in his career. However, in just 2 major awards, the British has gone from being a contender to the title to fight to add marginal points. Although in classification has demonstrated flashes of adaptation, the lack of constancy of the car has kept it out of the main fights. And what is worse, it has had to radically modify its driving style to compensate for the structural deficiencies of the car. This generates mental and physical wear that no pilot, however laureate, can sustain for a long time without consequences. In political terms, the situation threatens to destabilize the Scuderia internally. Frédéric Vasseur, who was brought precisely to stabilize the project and make Ferrari a modern and efficient organization, is now under the most severe scrutiny since his arrival. Maranello's directive faces uncomfortable questions about the development process of the SF-25, the validity of its simulation model, and the capacity of the engineering team to respond to a structural crisis. The feeling of déjà vu is inevitable. Ferrari has faced similar technical crises in the last decade, and the ghost of chronic stagnation stalks again. The Italian press, known for its overflowing passion and its ruthless criticism, has begun to increase pressure on all fronts. Opinion articles and editorials question whether Hamilton's signing was an emotional play rather than rational, if Leclerc is willing to renew its contract in these conditions, and if Ferrari truly has the necessary structure to compete in the modern era of Formula One. In the center of everything, the SF-25 is not just a failed car. It is a symbol of the divorce between ambition and execution. In addition, at the championship level, the consequences are already visible. Ferrari, who had to fight each race against McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull, has been relegated to a secondary role. While Norris and Verstappen already add victories and consistent podiums, Ferrari struggles to enter the top 5 in normal conditions. The disadvantage at points accumulates, and with it, the possibilities of title are struck both in builders and in pilots. In a category where every weekend is unrecoverable, Ferrari is losing land faster than can analyze it. What began as a technical problem has become a multifaceted crisis. And the most dangerous thing is that Ferrari no longer controls the narrative. Now the story is writing the errors, awkward silences, and the results that do not arrive. This is the most feared situation by any big team. Losing not only on the track but also in public perception, in the internal trust, and in the story of the season. Ferrari not only needs to fix a car. You need to rebuild yourself before 2025 becomes another gray chapter in its recent history. This is only the beginning of a story that threatens to deeply mark not only Ferrari's fate in 2025, but the immediate future of Formula One as we know it. The fall of the SF-25 is not simply a technical stumbling. It is the revelation of an internal fracture, of a development model that perhaps is no longer up to the modern standards of efficiency, agility and precision required by the Queen category. But the most disturbing thing is that this disaster occurred just when everything seemed aligned. The appropriate pilots, the consolidated technical structure, the directive experience and a narrative loaded with hope. If even under those Ferrari conditions you can deliver a competitive car, what should really change in Maranello? And now I ask you, do you think Ferrari needs a complete restructuring from its technical departments? Or do you think this is just a temporary detour in a path that, with adjustments and time, can be corrected?